Let me
He
know.
did say Wednesday was better for him, but Tuesday, he would make Tuesday work, so.
And this chair, again, I feel like I'm sitting on the ground.
You want, is it that one that works?
No, it's just, I wanna be rigid, I guess. Sorry, that's not politically correct
These chairs
word.
are.
Well used. They were.
They
That's a good way to do it.
need to
They certainly
be
got-
replaced when I win the lottery.
got a lot of them.
It's like my son's truck. He's been driving my mom's old 2004, he's a Ford Explorer
Thank you.
since 20.
That's just for today.
2000.
So
okay.
that's actually the
That's
agenda.
good.
And then
Ford Explorer,
everything's,
that's
we're just gonna go straight down this list.
Right?
And it's all
Yeah.
attached.
Yep. It's.
So you're gonna
I gotta knock
flip
it
the
over
wheels
because,
out and then
man, as
flip
soon
the
as I
rest.
Don't.
put it out there.
Don't
Is that a
do
cassette
that.
player?
So like the financial reports you would have seen, I would have, and then we just, yeah. And some stuff doesn't
Yeah,
have
I'm
exactly fit
pretty
what
sure
it is.
that's.
I'm gonna text you so you're on your way.
I don't know.
Let me make sure that
Hey,
it's going.
This an extra one?
Yes, we are going.
Might just be next one. Oh, this is it.
Okay.
Oh, okay, this is Tony?
Yeah, somehow I got an extra one of these.
Okay.
So Tony, you fill out this stuff. Yeah, you know it. And then this is the actual agenda for this meeting.
Lots of trees killed for today's meeting. Sorry.
Less than some meetings, though.
Less than some, yeah,
Alright, so the only one missing is Elliot, so I will go ahead and call the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency meeting of March 12th, 2024 to order. So, first on your agenda in front of you is the consideration for the approval of the minutes from November 8th, 2023. There's a note say pending completion.
they were completed.
So they are good now at this point in time, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Second, we have the review of the financial report. So John, I'm assuming this is you.
Yep, so we're just gonna review it for now, and then the audit's gonna be finished here in March, and then after that time period, I'll have the audited financials that we'll approve. And as of right now, everything should stay pretty much the same, other than the properties, our balance sheet in the property section due to how many properties we bought due to the 1980 program.
Yeah, and that will be.
And
a
that would just
combination
be a journal entry that comes right from the auditors, and then that'll come probably in the next week or so, so.
And so properties are 19A, as John mentioned,
And
anything that we may have picked up at auction in the last
We
year.
picked up one.
Just the one.
Yep.
And then, any properties that we may have or will be selling. Just a little hint.
Subliminal messaging. So is there a motion? Does anybody have any questions regarding what's in front of you or any outstanding questions you're waiting for? Okay, so, looking for a motion.
So moved.
Okay, second?
This is just to review them, it's not to.
Or we, you
Right.
have, do you have to
It-
accept them?
You can accept them if you want,
Accept them,
it
yeah.
doesn't really,
Because
either way,
they're all-
cause yeah, you're just gonna end up doing it again because the audited financials.
So do you wanna-
Yeah.
So that's what I
It's not-
Just accept them, yeah.
It's not acceptable.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay,
And then in the next one, it will say audited, year-end audited financials.
okay,
Gotcha.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Okay. Third item is the normal authorizing of M&T Bank, Key Bank, and Evans Bank as depositories for the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency. Standard banks, no additions this year, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
So moved.
Okay, Greg
I'll second.
and Mike, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Carried. Number 4, approval of the 2024 contract for services with the city of Jamestown in the amount of along with office and parking rental space within the Jamestown Municipal Building. Have that attached.
What was it last year?
417,000?
Yeah, I think it was a minimal increase.
Yeah. The only thing that's changed between last year and this year is the dollar amount.
That's the 34,000 a month.
Yeah. And then at the very end, there'll be just a little bit, there'll be, yeah, because of retirement.
Okay.
That's just, up with that cost.
Which one is
Cause that
it?
always
This
comes
one
into
here?
reference.
It's the very
Yes.
first
Yes.
one that
Okay.
says, City of
34,
Jamestown.
and then that
Agreement.
is like
Yep.
22-ish at the
Oh.
end or whatever. It's just
So
whatever
that
the
would,
remaining is, so.
that's 425,000 from the city budget allocated to.
Cause we'll drop that number out, or DK on that.
For administration of programs.
Not as much as you guys
Okay,
will.
from the city.
From the
fire.
city
to
to
JURA.
JURA.
Okay.
Yep,
The fire
Yeah,
will
went up,
obviously
so.
be
Yes.
2 million.
yep, a little bit. Yes,
That's up there.
So moved.
Okay,
Thank you.
second,
I'll second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Carried. Next, as far as contracts go, is the approval of the 2024 contract for services with the Jamestown Local Development Corporation in the amount not to exceed $140,000 and no cents.
And this one stayed the exact same as last year. It's our normal admin fee for JLBC for performing their loans, and this year is really big on ARPA, so it stayed the same.
JLDC fee to JURA.
Correct.
Correct.
To administer JLDC
Okay.
Programs.
programs, loans, et cetera.
Same as last year.
Yep, and this is separate from, the ARPA administration. We do have a longer, term agreement with JLDC, which we approved last year, and that goes through the end of this year.
Okay.
So we will have to renew that, at the beginning of next year to continue to administer those programs.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None carried. Number 6 on the agenda is the approval of the 2024 contract for services with the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation in an amount not to exceed $15,000 and no cents. So this is for John to do financials.
Yep.
Correct.
So pretty much I run the finances for the JRC program, and I assist with their audit and, pretty much anything financial wise, but any outsourced payroll and such. So I'm mostly writing checks and, reporting back to their board.
This is the same as last year?
Yep. These two, all three, these two students. Next year it'll go up, don't worry.
No changes. So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Resolution number 7. Authorizing agency and/or staff members to attend various meetings and conferences relative to code enforcement, community development activities during the year of 2024. Standard normal resolution.
Yep.
Obviously adhering to the budget for those line items, so.
Second.
Any opposed? Carried. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Next, we have the engagement letter for the 2023 audit with Drescher and Malecki LLP. These are our city auditors, have performed city auditing for a few years. City council did just also renew for 3 years or 4 with them, I can't remember.
It's 3 with an option for an additional 2.
Yeah, so, we've been very happy with their work, their advice, their performance. So, I highly recommend it.
We usually follow whatever the city does, so that's to stay in line. because our bank accounts, of
Sorry.
course, some of our accounts,
Moments on there.
are also
For
part of the
those
city
continuing
accounts,
one I wanted.
such as our HUD funds and our economic development funds.
It's-
Right, no, they're.
So it
My-
makes,
my
always
time.
makes sense to go with whatever the city chooses.
So does this fall under professional fees?
Yes,
for
it
the
does.
budget?
Yep.
We're usually a couple grand under, but.
And I'll be honest with you, they've spent a lot of time here and actually undercharged us for many years, and I think the next year's investment price, I was actually expecting it to be higher based on Erica's and I's discussion with them for the amount of hours they had put in, and they've been very good financially with us as well.
Yeah, they're very good. for-
Kane and Low.
Yeah.
I've worked with them a number of
Well, we've used almost 60% of the budget already this year for them.
So
Is
usually they do progress payments,
Okay,
so we already paid them.
so you already paid
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and that's why it looks so high on.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's actually year to date, so I probably just wrote that check the end of February, the early March, like I just wrote that check, so.
So we won't,
We actually only owe one more payment after this, so.
we won't deplete that line with just them.
Yep, and then we do have, in that line, we do have some, like Elliot's legal fees would be underneath that as well, for that professional.
Does it matter if the resolution's a dollar amount?
No, it
It's
does not,
budgeted?
because
No.
it's an per hour basis, so it's gonna be, it's lucrative to Treasurer and Lucky on their end, so it's hours based, not necessarily, contract.
I just mean like for the resolution, should it say not to exceed the 20,000 budgeted, or doesn't that matter?
That won't matter because that 20,000 is for all professional fees.
Okay.
So
So
any
that's-
professional fees that we need throughout the entire year
I got
would
it.
come out of that,
Yeah,
yeah.
we pay a lot in, we also do a lot of, we have to like file all these liens and stuff with the county.
And that comes out of that line
Yeah, there's other stuff in there that's not just the,
How much is
Yeah.
your threshold molecule?
usually about 10 to 12. I think it was 12 to 13 last year.
Yeah, I wanna say it was just under 13 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they have their hourly fees
Right.
listed in here, they didn't give us a flat rate, but in working with them for the past few years, actually,
I think it says
93.50, yeah. Our fees for the aforementioned audit services will not exceed 9,350 inclusive of expenses for the audit of the year ended December 31st, 2023. And then our fees are payable as work is performed. So page 6, third paragraph down.
And then the one below if you need additional.
Yeah, and so that's where they break out their hourly rates.
That's actually very reasonable.
Very reasonable, yeah.
Mhm.
And we'll also have them for JLC, of course, and they'll have to do a single audit on that
Yeah.
one as well, due to how much funds that we have spent this year.
I don't remember how much that one is, but I bet it's higher.
Yeah.
That one is,
So
we're on.
Exactly.
This
Mike?
juror should be
I
down
was
here a
hoping
little bit.
after all.
Right? Good question.
Absolutely.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? None carried. Number 9 is the appointment of Elliot Ramondo as legal counsel for JURA and authorizing their reimbursement according to the proposed 2024 fee schedule.
So, I did not include a fee
I was
schedule,
gonna say,
now
I
that I
didn't
say
see
that,
it.
and I think that when I rewrote this for JLDC, so he really has not charged us the last couple of years, to perform, he rolls it into his salary. He can charge us, so if there's, an excessive amount of real estate transactions, or we have a lot of meetings, but his time for JURA is pretty limited. I can get everybody his hourly rate, and then if we wanna, do you wanna hold and then approve it at the next meeting, or do you wanna?
I think for clarity you should, so you know
Yeah,
what you
just so
got.
you, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think
So-
anyone's opposed to it, but just so you're,
If he was here, he'd be able to tell you that,
if he gets here in time, he should be able to tell you.
so we could maybe hold it.
Hold it till the
And
end
then-
if he comes back for
and then-
questions.
Yeah,
hold on tape.
hold the table if
Yeah.
we need to, yeah.
Okay. Number 10, then moving on, is to the appointment of the JURA Executive Secretary,
Which would be me,
which
if
is
you
Crystal.
so choose.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks.
Um,
Yay.
Oh, you want
I get to keep my job.
All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Carried. Number 11 is the review of the JURA bylaws for mandatory training, acknowledgement of fiduciary responsibility, your conflict of interest, and the whistleblower policy. So that's a separate packet, which you all have to complete and return.
Read, sign, and for the sake of making sure that we say this out loud, there is mandatory training. That was something else that I want Elliot to address when he gets here. Where you can specifically get that training, the Public Authorities Board offers that training.
Isn't that what we just did a few months ago?
You did, so now you're still
You're good for
on the
that.
board, so what is it, 3 years?
Every 3 years, I
3
think.
years?
So I'm good.
So,
You're good for
You're
a while. I'll let you know when you pass.
Yeah, it was-
When you gotta do it
The
again.
same with JLDC,
Yeah.
it's the same
Yeah.
exact
There
training
was a
for
flurry of
JLDC and
emails trying
JURA
to get
board
that
members.
scheduled.
Yeah, that was a pain.
May in fact be the same for the planning commission, with the exception of you may have something a little bit more because regarding planning.
more planning related,
Yeah.
yeah. But any
The only
public
one I've
authorities,
ever done with
Erica,
board
I
is
think
the
you-
very heavy towards planning.
Because I don't think you
Okay.
did you
in the
complete the
past.
public
So,
authorities
we
board
can
training
have Elliot reach out to you.
in the last year?
Not last year.
Okay.
No, it would have been.
It's an hour long, it's
Yeah.
a very simple training, but I think it needs to be done by all of
Yeah.
those,
So Elliot's office, Tanya, we'll have Tanya reach out
Okay.
with,
I can
she
send,
has to
I can send
coordinate
Elliot
that.
an email.
Okay. Thank you.
And you have the list of who has completed it and who hasn't, right, John?
Yeah, we did it last year.
I remember when I did it, but I don't
It was-
remember who was in the
It
class
was a
with
really
me.
big
Yeah.
pain to get the scheduling. It was,
Yeah.
so it
that's
took a
the
while.
hardest part is scheduling.
It took a while because they only offered like one time.
Yeah, I think
Like
they,
one time once, and
That's
that was it.
what
Was
they
that,
did.
was that lunch?
And then Elliot
Yes,
had
it
to
was.
open.
Yes, you
yeah,
made
if I remember
So
right,
maybe
there
You
was
may
like
have
taken
20
it.
people trying to say when they could do it, and then they
Yes.
schedule it around those times,
Yes.
and it was just like,
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Rather than
give
offering
me
it.
3 times to,
Yeah.
if I
Let
can
me
pick
pick
one,
one.
I'll get on
Yeah.
it, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it was the vendor that was doing that or something.
It's
It was
actually
the
the state, yeah.
State
Oh,
controller's
okay, that
office.
explains it. So.
Yes. They're like, this is what it's gonna be,
Yeah,
and you
no,
have
no,
to do
so,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Usually I'm used to, here's 3 or 4 times, just pick one and.
Yeah, yeah,
No, it wasn't quite that way, it was one and done,
yeah.
so.
We did provide feedback, to that regard, that,
Yeah.
you know, if they could make it something that was an online webinar type thing,
Mm-hmm.
which there's no reason, I don't think why they couldn't do it that way. I don't know that they changed it for us, but. But you're good for a couple more years, so.
The rest of the stuff John gave us,
Yep,
And you
filled it out.
Yep.
and-
Yep.
So you're all set to go.
Okay.
yep, we just have to complete that every year. So nothing to prove, just.
And unfortunately,
Yeah.
Mike, if you filled it out on another commission, it doesn't mean anything, you have to fill it out again here.
I just signed what I'm told.
So,
You can reach first.
okay, number 12, some great news,
Yes.
actually. So we have in front of us the approval of 2 lots at Country View Estates. I know at one point in time, we talked about reducing the price of these, but we are actually selling them at market value, which is really good news. So in this last week,
Yeah,
we have
We sold
sold 2 lots up at Country View. And great news is one of them is not a city resident, so they're moving into the city, so even better.
Okay.
And if I know them, should I abstain from voting?
Nope.
Okay.
Do you gain financially?
No.
There you go.
Okay, good.
I might buy a beer.
So, I think, are the names on here?
they are, yep,
Okay.
so,
So the one from last Friday is the one on top.
Paul
Yep.
and Linda, yep. Yep, so we have, lot K, which is Paul and Linda Nelson, and they have offered a purchase price of $10,500. We did receive their, deposit for $1,000, to hold it pending the approval of the sale. And happy to answer any other specific questions about that.
So they're buying 20 acres and they're,
No, so the 20 acres
Is the-
is
oh, okay,
the total,
they're
yeah.
buying
Lot K.
lot K
Lot,
out of the
yep.
20 acres for
Correct.
10,000, and they're gonna build a house on it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good to me.
No! Yes,
And
it's
there's-
good news.
There's specific, like, they have to build it within X amount of years and
Right.
things like that,
Of course, go through, site plan review
Sure,
and
the
work
normal
with our
steps,
team.
so,
Yeah,
you need a motion for each of these?
so. Yes.
we do, yep, individually.
So moved.
Okay.
Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none, carried. So now we have lot M, and these, ironically, two parties were very interested in the same exact lot, so I'm just glad it worked out.
Yeah,
Who won?
It depends, I think it depends on what type of house. I think
Yeah.
one is building a downsized house for them, ranch style. I don't know what this one's building. I'm not sure what the Espinosas are building, so
but I'd say they both won, they both ended up with the one ultimately that they
they won't.
decided on, so there was
Yeah,
no
they both were
conflict
happy with the
between us, yeah.
decision, yeah.
Well, they're gonna have to get along right next to
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So this is lot M
Gail was a music teacher.
to Michael and Gail Espinoza. She was my music teacher many years ago. For the purchase price of $15,277.36. Again, market value.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, carried. Nice, glad to hear. Means we have 2 new homes going up.
Yep. So this will be the third, because we had one that was completed about a year and a half to 2 years ago.
Yep.
So for something that sat with no movement
Right.
For a
for
while.
20 years almost.
So how long did you say they can take to build a house?
Is it like,
They've got 12 months to get all of their permits secured and
Okay,
basically start work.
okay.
It can always be extended
Mhm.
as long as they're in communication with us and they've,
Nice.
they've consulted with our team and we've helped them through site plan.
but most of
Yeah.
them already have their preliminary plans. I mean, when they
Yeah.
came in,
Yeah.
they're looking at lot sizes, they already have their
Yeah.
idea of
Right.
what the house they want and will it fit on that lot,
Sure.
so
And
they're at
that's
least
a
through
good
that
question.
system.
There are some regulations around, sizes and that sort of thing, but, as they come to us, if there are things that we need to, look for an approval to be sort of a variance from what was originally intended decades ago, we can go through that process to make that approval and change the minimum square footage and, that sort of thing. Manufactured homes, they can't be, like a mobile home. So it's gotta be a permanent structure, it's gotta have basement, foundation, but it doesn't mean that they can't do, something where there's parts of the home that are
Like a mod.
Pre-planned
yeah,
and
yeah,
put together.
yeah.
I'm just thinking Jerry's house across the street. From my house, Jameson's, theirs was
Mm.
put together like that,
Okay,
something like that.
yeah.
Definitely not.
And that's something that we've been looking into. We've actually worked with, the company, there's a company out of Pittsburgh called Module. Their footprint their size homes are much smaller and they're meant more for an infill kind of design in, smaller lots that go between houses that, there may have been a property that was torn down. But there are companies that are similar that are doing that, type of design, so. We are open to it. I don't believe that either one of these though
Are
is
that-
planning to do that.
I think these
They've
are
already got their
full-blown
builders,
construction
yeah.
and they have their builders and
Good.
Yeah,
Well, it's fun.
so, yeah, very excited.
it is very exciting. So, next on the agenda is the discussion on the cost of Country View Estates. I'll add my 2 cents before Crystal can add it if she has anything she wants to add. So initially, because these sat with no movement for a while, we talked about reducing the cost and making some other incentives for people, but at this point in time, my personal thought is that because we have these 2 sold at market value, we have a couple more interested, that we look at it as a lot by lot case. If there's some lots that her and her team feels maybe are not as marketable as K&M, that we look at that lot in particular and discuss reduction on particular lots only. I personally would not be happy if I just paid market value and you come out with an incentive
Yeah.
that's a lot less, and because we just approved these 2.
They don't have the 10-year thing, do
They can
They
apply
do-
for that.
They
They
can
can
apply
apply.
for that, so they still get the 10-year tax abatement,
Mhm.
building a new home. So I think we gotta communicate that incentive and then look at the particular lot and get into a discussion about which ones.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple I know that were mentioned to me by Stephanie that
Yeah.
she felt were a good example of that, so maybe we
Less
start with those
desirable.
ones,
Yeah.
yes. So maybe we start with those ones and look at that.
Well, when you say you sold these at market value, how did you determine market value?
That's a Crystal Stephanie thing?
Yep, so that is, conversation with the assessor, and then they can choose to bid less than market value, but really it's based on
You start
the
at that
information that
point.
the assessor's
That's
office
starting.
gives
How,
us.
how many lots are up there?
There's still a dozen or more
I
left.
think so, yeah. Oh gosh, there were close to 20, and then we
It's like
see these 2, so there's probably still 17 or 18. Actually, I can get you that.
No, that's
Maybe.
okay, I was
I may
just
have
curious,
the
cause
map.
like, in my world, like, we finance developments, you're gonna see
Yeah,
the best lots are gonna sell first
Yes,
for
correct.
more, and then down the line, and,
Yep.
you know,
and again, you can always offer less.
right.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and that'll all be, like, for development, they're gonna be, you know, you're gonna know that up front. You know, these
Yeah.
lots are gonna sell, are gonna be
Right.
marketed for more, and
Right.
so, like, if we're providing financing, you know, we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
make sure that when let's say 75% of the lots are sold, that the loan's paid back,
Mhm.
so,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
And
so.
These were 2 of the more sought after, I think.
Yes, yeah.
So I think case
Yeah.
by case.
Case by
basis,
case.
Market value with case by case basis would
Yeah.
make the most sense,
It does to me, especially given the fact that we are seeing some movement.
yeah.
I wouldn't be happy if I
It
was.
went pretty good for, we had that push for a while. but-
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you had a lot of outside factors too.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see some movement and some new homes being built.
Yeah, we went for a very long stretch without any new homes being built in the city.
Mhm.
So we've seen, a few in the last 3-4 years it's a good
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah, and if there's 2 back to
more.
back,
Yep.
people will see that, and that'll
Yes.
make it more attractive.
And they are in
Absolutely.
discussions with one more, much a little bit stronger than the other one, but 2 possible more.
Mhm.
So,
Good.
That's it.
okay.
So that's that discussion, I think.
What's the intention, I mean, how we market them, maybe some sort of push or?
So the other thing we're doing, so everyone's aware, we're in a total revamp of our website. My staff has been working very hard on like eliminating some duplication, some other things going on in that. And I think one portion of that website will be to highlight the estate, the development, and see, what kind of noise we get out of that. And then also do some press stuff,
Yeah.
Push it on social media, push it wherever we need to for free, and then see if we need to go the step further.
Yeah, we also actually, this is news to you, but we had designed a sign, a few years ago, I think it was just before COVID. And it was one of those things that we had planned to do a marketing kind of push, and it just got completely hijacked by other
Oh,
things,
for
so.
the development assignment.
Yeah, yeah,
they're not involved or listed on, through MLS, are they?
Mm-mm.
No,
No,
no.
Then
It's
you-
just
you'd have
strictly through
realtor
here.
Commissions
No.
involved and all that, so,
Yeah.
okay.
You know, Elliot and Tanya manage the legal side of it,
Yeah.
Crystal and her team manage the rest of it, and
Keeps costs down also for
Yeah.
potential buyers. So I think the other thing that we need to do internally, right, is to do that analysis of what sites are left now, what parcels are left, and just to be sort of prepared with as much information as we can. We did have a couple of parcels that were inquired about, and they were looking at, can we pick up extra space behind the parcel to add on to our backyard? There's trees and there's, kind of a swale, but happens to be a right of way for utilities, so, it looks nice, but there's infrastructure under there, so we can't sell that. But that's information.
The marketing is no one will be able to build that.
Well, and
Yeah,
that's
right
just,
away.
exactly, so that's information that until we had to look into that in the last week, we didn't know that off the top of our heads, because the folks that knew that are
Is that
no
the
longer
only
here.
area that has a, is there any other, are there any other spots? in the city? Like if somebody came to you and said, I wanna be, on the north side,
Uh-huh.
over here.
I wanna build a,
Yeah,
build a subdivision or build a
just
house?
a house.
Um,
Do we have any?
there's not a lot,
Uh-huh.
because it's really, until we complete our zoning code update,
Yeah.
if someone were to come to us with that as an idea, the favor that New York State did give us is in their building code, they actually called out and identified tiny homes as something that is allowable by New York State building code now. That just changed in the end of last year. Prior to that, it would have been illegal to build something that would be considered a
Right.
tiny house square footage, so I don't have the square footage off the top of my head, but,
it's also
be-
the frontage
the
change.
frontage and the, all of the setbacks, because you're now allowed to build that smaller scale under New York State Building Code, there will be some lots that would be allowable. But as we're looking at our zoning code and updating that, that's something that we will be looking to change as well, because we all know a vacant lot or a side yard, it doesn't generate tax revenue, right? So any opportunity that we have to be able to do some infill where it makes sense, but we wanna be very smart about it and strategic about it as well, so. I would say that would be kind of a case by case basis until the zoning code is completely updated.
And I walk up around there all the time to the
Yeah.
house, and I think we even for sale signs on some of those lots would
Mhm.
generate interest, cause there's always people out walking up around there.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We did actually, we designed a big sort of, entrance kind of sign, and then smaller signs that would be for each one of the lots that are available. So we'll take a look at those, and I haven't looked at them in a couple of years, so I don't even remember what they look like. But we'll see and get some costs on what it would be to get those.
I always wanted to build one in Emory Park, but it wasn't allowed.
You
No,
know.
that's a program.
Right in the middle.
You could build a little fort.
What about
Temporary,
the
of
property behind
course.
the soccer fields in Allen Park? That was for sale for a while, wasn't it? Those privately owned for sale? It was like, I can't remember how many
I
acres
would
it
have
was.
to.
I'm not really sure, it was, if you go up,
Pretty sure
Um,
JURA owns it.
it's,
It might
it's,
be
if
But
you go up
we-
East
we have
Virginia, right
restrictions on it.
behind the
Yeah.
Prinzi's house, there were some lots for sale,
Okay,
private by a
I
realtor.
thought I remember seeing that.
But we technically own it, JURA does.
We own some of that, and there
Oh,
are
okay.
some properties that,
For landlocked. 'Cause it was
back
like-
up,
it
they're
was like-
landlocked, but they back up to other people's properties. We could potentially, and
It was
we
like
have talked
18
about
acres,
doing
right?
this.
It's a lot of land.
It was a lot of acreage.
Yeah, you'd have to probably put a road.
Well, and so there's wetlands too, up there,
There's
so
a
there's a
wetland.
lot of land up there that we can't build on.
Kind of behind
Nobody
the
can build on. So
surface
what we
land.
looked at is there are some lots that JURA owns that we could sort of subdivide and allow the property owners that have houses to add to their backyards. So we have talked about doing that.
There's a paper street that goes through, so.
Yeah, and that paper strip we've looked at, as well, and, I think the determination was that we could not
There's,
develop over that because there's infrastructure under there.
there is that goes into the creek in the
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, so we have looked at, you know, where can we add, and who would be interested in that. You know, there are some property owners up in that area along East Virginia Boulevard that have inquired about adding 100 to 150 extra feet behind their existing properties. That would be about the max that we could allow and subdivide before we start to get into wetland area. So, but that is a possibility, that is something that we've discussed, but not kind of put into motion yet, because that's a whole process in and of itself. So,
I'm just glad there's someone's building them.
yes, yes. So, okay. That is done.
okay. Do we have anything for new business?
We do not, but we do have some
Need
items
for
under-
executive
Mhm.
session. Okay, do you have a motion to go into executive session?
So,
Second.